What's the difference? What's bourbon versus whiskey?
Oh man, you don't know, do you?
It's not.
All right, number one,
The world wants to know. From the brown water
all
guy.
all bourbon, all bourbon is whiskey,
Hmm?
but not all whiskey is bourbon.
So, all right, I need to call you a liar now in front of everybody.
Do what?
Here we go. You ready? I'm going to call you a big old liar right now. You know
Call me
why?
a liar.
Call you a liar because you said I'm not a strategist. The more I hear you
No, I
talk,
didn't say that.
the more I hear you talk. All right, hey everybody, welcome to Fireside Craps. It's old John from Pro Craps here, and I got Ed Robinson from Roll to Win. Ed, how are you, man?
Man, it's a great day in the South today. It's nice and warm. It's beautiful outside.
Well, I'll tell you, you gave some of your crappy weather to the Northeast. Some of those tornadoes and crap. For those of you who don't know, we're here on April 2nd now, and boy, they got hammered yesterday up there. Not used to that kind of weather in my old town.
Everywhere up, they did Pennsylvania and all that got hit too, right?
Yeah, Pennsy and Jersey, and kind of a mess up there. I got getting texts from people that I don't normally get texts from saying, "Oh my God, I'm in my basement having dinner in the dungeon tonight." So yeah, crazy.
I was watching a live show Friday night, and the guys that were on live, their phones started going off with tornado warnings.
Jeez,
It was kind of weird.
that's a little bit insane.
It's been a wild week of weather, actually.
Mm-hmm. Well, up
So
here, I'm up in Seattle, and our weather up here kind of sucks. Actually, I'm lying. Summertime's great. Summertime, this is paradise out here. It's like 75, 80 degrees, sunny every day. It's beautiful in the summertime. In the fall, spring, it's that rain forever kind of thing. But we don't ever get harsh weather. We get a lot of rain, but we don't get it harsh because all the weather starts here. You know what I mean? The weather storms come off the Pacific and it just barely kind of hits us. It's misty rain, and then it goes through. If we get a hard rain, I'm like, it's coming. If it rains hard here and it starts out bad on the West Coast, it's going to come really tough on the East Coast. So it's
I think a lot of it, this bad weather seems to have been coming from all that rain out of California. San
yeah.
Diego area and all that. They've been getting pummeled with rain for
Mm-hmm.
two
Well,
or three weeks.
they've needed it. It's been, basically a 2 or 3 year drought down there. It seems like California's been, and that's part of Vegas's water problem. Vegas has got that Lake Mead that's dropped, however many feet that lake has dropped because they're feeding California all their water. And now the opposite problem. Now California has no place for the water to go. The lake is getting back to normal. It's weird. Weather's crazy. That lake is something else though. They're finding all those bodies in that lake, which is fantastic. I mean, all the
old mob runs are,
Yeah, they found a dumpster. They dug up a dumpster in that lake that had like 30 people in it. That was all chained up.
I didn't read that one.
Yeah. There's a picture of that. Like, oh my God, that's just crazy town. So, anyway, so here we are. Fireside Craps. I just want to talk to you about some stuff. I got a lot of things to talk to you about, but I want to start with this. The first thing is, how long have you been throwing dice? Like actually throwing the dice, like a legit working on your toss type of thing.
Good question. Probably 5 years, 6 years, something like that.
Oh, okay. How long have you had your table? That table. Have you thrown on that table the whole time, or did you have something smaller to get started with? What did you start with?
I had a homemade table that I started with. My old videos will have the old hand-built out of raw lumber table that I had for several years. This table here, the guy cut it on a computerized saw out of Atlanta. Yeah, he had a CRC machine. He's a cabinet. He does cabinet work for large hotels.
Okay.
And he took the diagrams off of Heavy's site. There's free.
Mm-hmm.
There's a free diagram of this table that you can actually do it by hand. I mean, it was something the guys put together 20 years ago or so. But
right.
Anyway, so he programmed it into that CRC machine. He can cook out any kind of size he wants. I had him do mine with dual stick positions instead of putting a bank on the far wall over there.
Okay.
I don't have a need for that. So I can always slide this table out and I can shoot from one end to the other, whatever.
Yeah, that's it. On my table, it's interesting because I have a bank on my side. Mine's from a casino, which is
Yeah.
cool because I think my table's got to be 50 years old. It's from the Desert Inn, right? So
Right.
I always joke about my table's probably got $1 million on it, or more than $1 million. Won and lost
Oh,
of that
probably got
thing.
100 million.
I mean, seriously. And probably Sinatra and those guys played on it, but having the bank does limit you, right? And what I found is like when I run my channel, I shoot from obviously the player side, right? Most of the time, which is great, but trying to like work the bets, I gotta lean all the way over that freaking thing because it's, it's legit size, legit width. It's hard to work the table. And I'm like, man, I wish
Yeah.
I could stand on the other side, like on the far box, on the far dealer side, and throw from over there. But
Yeah.
because there's a dealer box, there's no rail where stick left would be. There's no rail. And I've watched Alfredo on his channel. He does from that side, so he can do the betting easy too. But where he throws from, he's actually like, there's no rail. He's like got to almost
Yeah,
fake
he's
what it
kind
feels
of
like.
almost in a turn. Yeah, he doesn't have the rail in front of him. Yeah.
Right. So that to me, that was the whole reason for buying a table was to have a rail and have it be the right size. I tried to make a throwing station and my rail was never really right. It felt like it was too high, then I had it too far away, and it changes everything. I think that's cool you had it built. I didn't know you had it built by somebody with a CNC machine. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I mean, when I first started doing videos, I was using my old table, and I got an email from this guy um, saying he'd like to help me get a table, or if I was interested in a table. And I said, "Well, I'm always interested in a new table, but I don't like spending money." And so we talked, and what he did was he asked me what I wanted, and I told him I wanted a 12-foot table. I wanted 2 stick positions, which really is easier for him. I mean, it's just a mirror image of the regular side, just, because
Sure.
it goes together like a puzzle, as you know. I mean, they all
Mm-hmm.
just kind of slide together, the screws in them. So to keep it bare bones, he didn't even build I took my old base and I had to rebuild that base to fit the table that he made. And all of this was unstained, unfinished wood.
Hmm.
We went over and picked it up and put it in the back of a Dodge pickup truck in Atlanta and drove it back over here. And
Wow.
I just kind of stained it. I stained it in my basement while I was still playing on the other one. And then suddenly I needed to put it together. So I'd take the other one apart, had the measurements I needed to put my base on. I mean, if you look under this, it's raw lumber underneath my table, but you can't see it.
Sure.
It doesn't
Sure.
affect anything. I've got
So,
it at the height and everything.
So I was talking to Jeff a little bit. And Jeff's table is a studio. He calls it a studio table, right? That's the way he terms it, which is like my table behind me that I usually in the morning shows do. It's a flat piece of wood with a thing on it, just so the dice don't go flying around. It's not a real table. Yours now is a real table, obviously. So, I guess the question I'm going to have for you is this: surface-wise, what'd you do for because everybody wants to know, right? When we did my table build video and the one that's out there in the garage, mine has plastic on it, if you can believe that. It's like 1.5 inch thick birch, but on top of that is like this layer of like almost like a cutting board. And them dice, I'm telling you, hit that thing is bouncier than neoprene is. It's so ridiculously hard to throw on my table. What is yours? How did you decide on that? That's what the casino had. When I got it back when we bought it from the casino. Yeah. Yeah, and I'll tell you, man, those dice are hard to stop on that thing. People make fun of me, but man, I can't stop them. It's like throwing on your street. Yeah.
I've not ever seen that.
Yeah.
But I mean, who gets to look under? I don't get to look under many casino tables, see what they got.
Yeah, right.
So.
Right.
I've only ever seen one. So, if you're lucky enough to be there at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when they're changing out felt, most of the time you just see them putting new felt over old felt, just keep stacking it up. So.
When I was playing with G-Dub in Paris, we watched him do that one time. We got to watch that. It was cool. They did it. Like these two guys came out and they changed this table felt out in like 15 minutes. We stopped playing. We put the cloth on our chips and walked over there and watched them do it to see what they were doing. When I did my felt, it took me and Ian an hour and a half. Yeah. Pressing on it, we're trying to glue it down. We're getting and these guys like had this whole system down, but they did take the old felt off. They took the old one off, put the new one on, so it was still felt on whatever their bottom surface was. There, it wasn't like anything. And, Paris has got good tables. They weren't bouncy or nothing like that. So they literally peeled off the old stuff. But they did it with thumbtacks. They thumbtacked the whole thing together. It was pretty cool.
Well, that'd be easy because they get a lot more wear than ours does. I mean, I use staples, but
yeah. Well, they did staple it afterwards. What they did was they kind of have two guys on either side.
Thumbtack to get it centered and that kind of thing.
They thumbtacked it, yeah, and then they stapled where the thumbtacks were on one side, stretched it out, thumbtacked it, and they kind of made adjustments, and then they just stapled the whole thing from the underneath side. They stapled it, and the guy had like a little wheelie board, and he was done like he was fixing a car, just wheeling himself around, going pop, 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 and they were done in no time, And like my table, their rails, like mine, are one piece. They picked it up, set it on top, and they were done. And that table was open like an hour later. Like it was like, It was cool. It was cool to watch it because we're just a bunch of hackers out here. We don't know what the hell we're doing. Trying to figure this.
I saw the only one I've ever seen the underlayment on was at an old Harris table in Biloxi, and they had a bunch of them in the garage, and they was kind of in a semi-gated off area. Otherwise, I'd have spent more time looking at them, but I could not resist going over there and looking because they were taking it apart. They were doing, I don't know if they were going to ship them somewhere, what they were going to do. But I walked over there and looked to see what they had used under that table. And it was kind of a cotton batting looking material.
Yeah.
Underneath that one.
Yeah. I was talking to El Toro and he was talking about his table, and he basically has something like that cotton baffle stuff. He's like, it's almost like a giant t-shirt is how he described it. It's like almost that material. And he spreads that out and then he puts cork on one half of his table and put his stuff on top of that. So I don't know. It's to me, it's interesting. I want to go tour that place where Brian from Hawaii Crap Shooters did. He did that interview with the guy that makes the tables down there. I'd love to go tour that place and really kind of get a look at how they do it because, like I said, none of our tables are right. And that's, I think, a DI thing, right? Greg always asks me, well, it's great that you can do it at home, right? But how do you work it at a casino? You watch George, a guy throws 10,000 throws a year, more than that, probably 20,000 a year. Go to Vegas and, his results are varied because he's not throwing on his home table. And like, so what is your approach on that side of things? Because I find myself the same thing. I've got two different surfaces I can put on my table. I have the hard plastic that I can do to replicate my local, and I've got the bouncy that I practice on, but I'm not that fluent with it that I can, make an adjust.
There's two or three things, you can do. One is don't play a table that doesn't match what you got. Right?
I've said the same thing. Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
If you got an advantage, don't give away the advantage.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. None of us are that smart, but that should be rule number one, right?
Right.
The tables that give me the hardest time are those that they sound like they're hitting slate when they hit.
Oh, the super hards.
It might be hard plastic like you got. But when I hit those, I want to like them, but my results is never what I want off those tables.
That's interesting.
And I hear that crack, and I'm thinking, I sort of be able to dial in. Yeah, but you've got to dial in on any table. I mean, you may be dialed in with your toss, but you've got to find a sweet spot for your toss on any given table with any surface. So, you've probably dialed in pretty good on your local table.
I am. I actually, it's funny. In my local, I had a plastic shop carve me out a big plastic insert that's about half the size of my table. It's about the last 3 or 4 feet of my table that I can drop onto my table because my local has, I forget the name of the company, but they make a table that it's like a plexiglass surface and there's felt on top of that. And they have a computer behind where the box person sits. And so as you're rolling, the box person types it in and the table lights up. All the bets that would have paid light up. The box or the points always lit up. And it's some, whatever, they're releasing the technology, obviously. But it's basically like a roll to win kind of table with a felt on top. And there's dealers there. There's that you're throwing dice, they're playing with chips. It's a regular table, but the surface is plastic. And so I built a thing, or I had a plastics place build me a thing that matches that. And you're right. When I first started playing that, this is cool. This is great. Look how dead this table is. I can crush this thing. And I threw like garbage. What I realized is I take a more cashier's cage approach now. And I'm going on that thing almost in the middle of the field and let them bounce one and kind of slip into the back. And that's how that table wants to be played. It doesn't want to be thrown deep and the hard shots like I'm used to doing. Right. It wants that because it's so dead, and it just seems to, for whatever reason, it seems to be that's what it's asking for. I like your advice though. Don't play where it doesn't match. Like I told Greg that one time. He's like, how do you handle going to AC or going to Vegas where the tables are? I'm like, I won't play at a bouncy table. I won't play if it doesn't feel like home. I try to avoid it. I don't want to make as few adjustments as I can.
Yeah, I mean, why give away money? That's what they want you to do. From what I've been told, some of the tables that had gone real bouncy downtown in Vegas are now changing their surfaces back because they've lost players.
That's what I heard too. And I heard that from.
I mean, you vote with your feet. You play where you want to play. It's and maybe they've learned it. I think sometimes they get tired of chasing dice. They make them so bouncy because they're not getting the rolls in per hour that they want.
No question.
Because the dice are halfway across the casino and the guy's hollering for same dice on his come out roll.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. And they got to track it down and they got to check it and all that. It just slows the game down so much.
Oh, no question. Well, and the super bouncies are just no fun anyway. And I think most of those tables, I was going to say most of the super bounces I've seen are crapless tables. That's what I've noticed. The shorter ones are bouncier, but they aren't the trampoline surfaces that those things are. But I agree. I think that their rolls per hour is such a big thing. And if AZ and Jeff were telling us that the one that they mentioned was at the Plaza has reduced back to regular size tables. I think there's a couple others that are doing it. I am shocked if they're doing it because the players aren't playing there. But if it is, that's amazing, which means, we can maybe beating the drum against 000 roulette will start. Maybe if people stop playing those damn things, they'll start bringing them back to what they ought to be. I don't know.
Guys on roulette don't play.
Yeah, well, I mean, roulette's a fun game, but
best advice on craps is don't play.
Any game is don't play, right?
Bet's the best bet. How about that?
but I won't patronize. I won't patronize a game that I know is made extra specially against me. You know what I mean? Like roulette's already bad enough.
You don't like crapless. I love crapless.
I don't like crapless. You know what the thing is? I probably would make money on crapless. I mean, the game is fine, right? I'd probably make money on it, I think. What I don't like about it is that obviously the don't is gone. The pure don't is gone, which is part of my game anyway. But really, I like to do a lot of come betting. I like my low house edge come bets. And when I'm in a lull or the game kind of slows down or something, it's going south, I like to just get a couple of come bets going and let things kind of pick itself up as it goes. Very low volatility. You can't play a come bet on a crapless table. I mean, you can.
Wow.
Well, you can, but those come bets go to the 2 or 3, and they're going to die most of the time, right? That's the problem with it. It's like, I won't make that bet now because I'm afraid of where it's going to go to, and you're just giving it away. Come bets are hard anyway. They're tough to get paid on that second. On that, yeah, and I don't mind that they go to the 5 or 9, 6 or 8, but they go to the 4 and 10. I get squirrely. They go to a 12. You're like, okay, just write them a check that you're not getting that chip back, right? Well, that's where I find the game, and the house edge went from 1.5 to 7 or something like that, or 5.8 or whatever the house edge is. It's ridiculous.
You lose the 11 on the come out. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part I don't like. It's like well, if you bypass all that and just do place bets, right? If you play crapless your way, what do I call the right way? The only way to play crapless is to play strict place bets, no come betting. the lay bets on the extremes are the VIG's too much on those things to make that worthwhile. You can make money at it. The problem is the average bear doesn't get it. The average bear goes, oh, look, there's more ways to win. And here I go. And they're going to go out there and just burn money. And the casino, to me,
I play it cheap. I admit I play it cheap. On the come out, I'll bet a world bet ace deuce.
Mm-hmm. Just trying to win on it. Yeah.
When Jeff and I were playing crapless down in Biloxi, and we didn't even talk about this in our trip report, but I was shooting and I was playing a world bet. And so I hit the world bet. So see, that keeps me from having to worry about putting any money on the 2, 3, 11, or 12, other than if I want to put odds on my point.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say I hit a 3. I don't remember what I hit. So my ace deuce paid, my world bet paid, and then they give me the money to use as my odds, and my world bet's still working. I placed a 6 and 8 and went to the field. And I kept hitting horns. And my world bet kept staying up, and I kept pressing the world bet. And then I 7'd out. And when I 7'd out, my world bet was still on the table. Jeff got the dice and threw aces. So my world bet paid me. It's on the next shooter.
Right.
he hit another horn after that, and I got paid again off the same initial world.
You keep that world bet going the whole time on the crapless when you're throwing?
No. I play it until it's gone.
Okay.
But it's a cheap early on way to, if you hit it, you got to hit it.
Yeah.
It's an ATS table, so I'm trying to knock off the hard stuff early on the come out. But a $10 world, $2 ace deuce, that's $12. I got my extremes covered if I hit them. I'm giving up. I'm not even giving up any pay. Think about that. All right. So a 6 or a 2, I'm giving up some. Okay. I'm giving up a little, but on a small, it was a $10. That was a $10 crapless table. I could have had $10 out there. It wouldn't even been I wouldn't even have got paid 60. I'd have got paid something less because it was too low to be a buy. And, a 12 pays 26 for every 5 you got on it. So that's $52. Less the ace deuce.
So, all right, I need to call you a liar now in front of everybody. Here we go. You ready? I'm going to call you a big old liar right now. You know why? Call you a liar because you said I'm not a strategist. The more I hear you talk,
no, I didn't say that.
The more I hear you talk.
Go ahead. Call me a liar. I don't care.
You just call us all strategists. There's some thought behind that. It's not like you're just out there hucking or winging them, right? And with your dice, with your sets, and betting what you're throwing. You got a lot of thought behind some of this stuff. That's a pretty cool play. Like what you're just talking about there is a very strategic way to play. You know what I mean? And don't like undersell the fact of what you're doing.
It's a tactical way. It's a tactical
100%. It is tactical. That's like, think about that. Like if you're going to attack a crapless table, right? Grabbing the world bet, I get it. On that come out, if you hit something and you're getting paid, like I play the field a lot. When I'm on the don't, I'll play the field on the come out to kind of get paid as it goes. And that becomes my odds, or it just makes the flat bet free. Same thing here. You're playing the world on the way out. It gets paid. That's your odds. Like they bought your odds for you.
Yeah.
Or you bought your odds for you with that, to me, is akin to having my bets turned off and hopping the 5, which is the number you want to hit on the come out roll.
Yeah.
Like you do, right? That's a super tactical, highly strategic way to play. And I think that's, like I said, you like to say that you're not a strategist, but that's very strategic. It's a cool play. Yeah.
I think to me it makes sense even on a regular table, but on the crapless it makes a boatload of sense to, unless they get too high now, you got to be a little bit confident, maybe cocky confident if it's a $25 minimum world bet. And I've seen that.
Ooh,
on a $25 table. If they want a $25 world, you got to be.
You better be able to throw them.
You better be. It's going to cost you $25 to find out, right?
I guess so. Man.
You got to be confident. But sometimes instead of that, they'll, I've looked at them and I'll go, well, okay, well, what's the minimum horn bet? And they'll go $5. And I'll say, well, here's 15, give me a 3-way craps. Right. And then, throw a couple of aces and then they're piling money in your rack.
Yeah.
Just keep pressing it up. The key is on either of those bets, because they're they're high house edge bets, but if you can use them to your advantage and hit them, you got to hit them, number one. And then the magic is press it regardless. You got to press it, because if you can hit one, you can hit two. But I'm telling you what, that third one, if you can hit that third one and they're hard to hit, it pays off like magic, because you go from 25 to 50. Okay, take that world bet to 100. Let me pop it.
Mm-hmm. You're doing a full press, or you're doing just a unit press on that?
I start out with a unit, but a lot of guys I know will go from 25 to 75 on that first hit. Because it's so hard to hit that third one.
No question.
Go as high as you can go on that first hit and see if you can get that third yo or second yo, or get an ace deuce, get something that's going to throw some more money at you. It's fun to play that way, but it sucks if you don't ever hit it.
Sure.
You're burning money.
Yeah, I guess so. And that's, I guess, my next my next thing I want to ask you. For me, I have ways that I approach a table when other guys are throwing, right? But when I'm throwing, I don't go all in. Like one of my friends, you probably know JB. He's been on the show a couple of times. He asked me, why don't dice controllers, whatever, bet heavier on themselves? And Greg would say, dice controllers bet too heavy on themselves. I go in there super light. When I first get the dice, I'm on the don't. I'm doing a couple of come bets. I'm easing in because I don't know what I got today. I don't know what I'm looking like, right? So I don't go in super heavy. What do you do when you the first time at the table, the first time they come to you? Are you betting heavy? Are you feeling it out a little bit?
I don't bet heavy anytime, or what I consider heavy. But I'll do a 6-8, depending on what the point is. Let's just say point's a 4, and I'll bet a 6-8, and I'll do a field bet, come bet, because I'm looking to see where I'm going to be. Call it the heat seeker. We're kind of looking to places where our numbers are going to start being more dominant. Are we getting the dominant numbers you expect? Because number one, I expect certain numbers out of a set. Mm-hmm. And if I want to see if I'm getting those, or am I getting the sister number, or am I getting trash instead of whatever? So, the field bet protects the come bet protects the field bet. Unless you hit that 5, 6, or 8, and then you're just going to travel. And a lot of guys will play that 2 or 3 times with no odds on a come bet just to see where they're going to go.
Yeah, that's what I do. That's exactly what I do.
Just a flat come bet out. Mm-hmm. If it goes to the 6 or 8 and I had money on the 6 or 8, I'm going to place odds on it. I can't resist. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to take my winnings and go to let's say a $30 or $60 odds on that, whatever the bet was that traveled. So, but I start out really light because I want to see where things are hitting. Mm-hmm. If I'm getting numbers I expect, then I'll start ramping it up because I can press pretty heavy and still get my money off the table. Everybody knows I can.
I know you do. Yeah, for me, I typically, like you say, I like to ease in with a couple of combats. I do like a field with a combat, just like you do. I think it's a great way to kind of get a little bit of play as they both go out. The field bet, if you get a 4 or 9 or a 10, combat travels, the field pays, that's the odds for it. I do that all the time. And I always felt like, and one of our subscribers, Victor, says this a lot, like if you're a good influencer, if you're in your pocket, whatever a pocket means, your comebacks are going to pay.
That's what it means.
They're going to pay, right? If you're throwing, like say, what you expect to throw, your comebacks are going to pay anyway, and then you can go to place bets and start, hammering if you want to, right? What I find a lot of times is, like you said, I'm either where I expect to be, or I'm throwing garbage. And if you're throwing garbage, it's a whole different betting scheme. and like you can't depend on anything. I think that's kind of where I have found myself there a bunch of times. I'm not good enough to
I have
adjust
too,
when
but
you're.
I'm not afraid. I'll bet the field if I'm throwing garbage until I
Mhm.
get it figured out. But
See,
I
that
change
surprises.
sets. I mean,
That
I change
surprises
sets
me.
a lot,
When,
and
when,
I,
Go back to that. So if you're throwing garbage, right?
yeah,
This is interesting because now I'm going to sell myself on crapless now. If I'm throwing
right.
garbage at a crapless table, I might place the outsides, right? Because if I'm throwing and I don't know what's coming, and I'm like extra random, I'm like, oh God, I'm nowhere near where I should be. I might bet those place bets, and then take them down if I ever find a zone again. Where the field, you're just giving it up every single time. That's a complete shot in the dark, right? Does that work for you to bet the field and kind of feel it out that way?
On a crapless.
Well, I guess yeah, talk crapless and regular too, because that's an interesting strategy there.
Well, again, I play crapless as cheap as I can play it because there's a lot of boxes out there to get numbers on.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I will try to fill out the outside numbers before I worry about a 5 or 9,
Hmm.
unless I'm just hitting fives or I'm hitting nines. But I'll there's a couple of ways I've done it. I've got a unit setting in the field, and maybe I'm betting 3, 6, 8, and 11 because that's a typical play. If I didn't hit, if my world bet didn't work, then I may bet the 3, 6, 8, and 11, and a field bet.
Hmm.
Field bet hits. Let's just say it's $15 field bet, and it wins. I take 15 to the 2 and 12. So now I've got $7.50 sitting on each number, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of my money,
Right.
of my invested money. So then I might throw another field out there, and depends on what hits. I may go, give me the 9 or give me the 4 and 10, and I might set on all those numbers and no 5 or 9 for a little while because they haven't hit, trying to hit numbers. Um, so I use the field to fill out numbers, to fill out to use the
Mm-hmm.
winnings to push out, or to use as odds on that come bet. But once I'm full of numbers, it's very rare for me to go back into the field unless I just keep hitting fields. So
Sure.
it's kind of like see a horn, bet a field kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You know,
That's funny. It's great you say that, man. I'll tell you, because I do the same thing. So when I did the strategy a few weeks back that I worked on with Waylon. It was this iron cross thing that we did. And to me, I hate the iron cross. As a general way of speaking, I don't like it. But if you do what you just said, and I advocated for this, taking the field bets and just using that to grab everything else. Field bets become 9s and 4s and 10s and odds and everything else. And I don't know that when I'm playing the field in conjunction with other things, I ever collect the field. It's 100% like it's the
I use it.
it's the
I use it
gasoline.
strictly to fill up box numbers. I mean, if they throw
Yeah.
a 12, then something's going in the rack, and then half of it's going to other numbers.
Yeah. Interesting.
If
Yeah.
if it's a triple 12 table, I'm going to put
Mhm.
one of them in the rack, and the other two is going somewhere.
Yeah, and that's cool. I like that. I like using the field as the gasoline. I think that's a great way to use it. Just fuel everything else up and kind of, yeah, smart. That's cool. All right, let's get into.
I'll do it every time the point is 5. If the point is 5,
You're just in there.
I'll do it that way every time.
Now, why the 5? What makes the 5 a difference maker?
Well, it's not in the field.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to bet 6 and 8 regardless.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably going to put anywhere from 2 to 4 times odds on that 5. Do I want to put more money out there, or do I want to see if the fields hits and I can get some free 4s and 10s out there?
Yeah. And you're still so your whole shtick out there when you're playing, it's not that you have a quote unquote strategy, but you're pressing the crap out of what's happening. That's kind of your if I was to describe you from what I've heard you talk about on other shows, that's your way. It's not like you have a strategic way to play. You're just saying, I'm throwing 9s. So we're betting the damn 9.
I'm throwing 9s. 9s are going to the roof.
That's it. There's no.
Why? Why would I bet anything it's not that I'm not hitting?
Well, that's the thing, right? A lot of people advocate for hit a 9 or whatever and press everything, or hit this and press the sister. I do sister pressing on the 6 and 8, but a lot of folks are talking about pressing across, and you're saying no. Bet what you're throwing, and I think that comes down to the fact that you're throwing well, or your set's working and your toss is working well, right?
You've got to be in your pocket, as the guy said, or you got to be dialed in, as I call it. I've really put a lot of hard way action in play this year when I go to the casino, because I'm learning I can make a lot of money in a hurry on if I hit them. So
sure, yeah, sure.
But but for example, New Year's Day morning, I've talked about this before, so I'm probably on the trip before or something, but my 5 was at $300, and I was coming out, and I hopped the 5s for $25 each, and hit the 5, set the 5 as the point. That's a nice little lick.
That's not bad. Well, it's almost what you would have got, right? If I would have paid what $420, you got $375 coming out.
I got paid well. Well. I left my $300 sitting up there. I put 2 times odds on my pass line, and my hot bets are still working.
All right. So let's set that table. So you got, all right. So let's go. Let me wind that back. So you got a $300 5 that's off because it's coming out, right? You got $25 hop and 5s, and of course your pass line bet, right? Hop the 5 hits, right? 25 pays $375. You lose the 1, so you got $350 sitting there, right? You put your hop bet back. You're putting the $300 behind the 5 as a pass line bet, as a pass line odds.
I left it on the 5. As a
okay. Oh, you left so you didn't take odds. You just left the place bet sitting there. I thought you had odds.
I put $100 odds on that $15.
All right. So you got odds behind. You got the hops going, and you got the place bet because you're going to beat the snot out of that 5. That's the Ed way. That's it. I'm throwing 5s.
Yeah.
I'm going to beat it up.
5.
That's awesome. That's classic.
Add that up.
That's a lot. I can't do the math. It's 420.
150.
Yeah, and 420 and 375 on the hop. Yeah. That's an okay little payday right there. I'd have been the hell out.
300. You got 300 place bet.
Yeah, 420 up there, plus the 375, plus the 150. Yeah. That's not bad.
Did I leave? So let me ask you a question. Did I leave my hops working?
You said you did, right? Yeah, you said you left them working, right?
Did, but I just hit the point again, right?
Yeah.
Did I leave those 2 hops working?
I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did.
Sure I did. And guess what I threw?
You didn't throw a 5.
I threw a 5.
Jeez.
Now I missed it. I didn't bullfrog it like I did previously. But, I mean, why? If you've got a pressed up number, y'all have heard me say, if you've got a pressed up number and the puck's off, why waste a throw on a hot number? I was throwing 5s and 6s, and if I hit another even number, it was a hard way. That was just an amazing run that morning. But my 6 was at 420, and that 5 was at 300, and I could have pressed that 500 on up, but I was hitting the hop, so I didn't do it.
That's fantastic. I think that's the thing, right? I don't know how else I can categorize this. If I look at what you just said, and I look at and I'm going to call people out, like look at the way that Waylon plays, or the way that some Vince might play, where it's just set my bets. Every time it's the same old thing. The dice are going to come. I'm going to ladder up, I'm going to ladder down. I'm going to take my same bet. I'm going to roll it back, right? And if you think about how would you bet against what somebody would call a random shooter, that's the way to play it, because you don't know what's happening, right? A random shooter could throw 5 5s in a row, but they're going to more likely be more spread out most of the time, right? Where somebody with some control, like you're saying, if you're dialed in and you're doing that thing, that's where you're putting your money. You're putting your money behind, not ahead of time. You're not going out there with, 6,400 across, but you're going to let your numbers come to you and you're going to go boom, boom, boom. I'm hitting this. That's where my money's going to go. And I think that's a whole different mindset.
Yeah. I threw the dice that morning. It was before breakfast on New Year's Day. I threw the dice 3 times. Three hands. I bought in with $500. I bet the fool out of the dealers on that morning because they were all sitting there trying to wake up. They've been up all night or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm hitting hard ways like crazy. And I'm pressing the hard ways a quarter every time I hit it. 5s and 6s were just blowing up. And I cashed out $8,000 after totes on a $500 buy. And I didn't play an hour and a half.
But it's just following what's hot. You're just following what's hot. That's interesting. Yeah, that's well, it doesn't happen often, No. Excuse me. Talking to my friend JB, who's been on the show before, he plays a very aggressive style. He basically does something similar where he goes in, about 220 or so inside and presses to the ceiling. He's looking for that variant roll. And he's a mathematician. Plays it more spread, right? But he's like, variance happens. You would call it targeted shooting, right? You're sniping, you're throwing, you're in the zone. He might call it you're in a variant where this is what's occurring at the moment.
Yeah.
Either way,
variance.
Either way you go. I think that's the whole point of influence, right? He's trying to create variance, not stumble into it, but make it happen.
Yeah.
Right.
There's times I couldn't throw it through a barn house door.
Yeah.
I mean, it just happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I get on the right tables and I get salivating over some things, and then all of a sudden I know, and I'm doing some test shots to see what I'm getting.
Yep.
And if I'm getting what I want to get, then I know I can use what little edge I might have at that point in time.
So you're just waiting to see. And that was my earlier question. It's like, what are you doing to wait and see what you're doing? And that's your field come, easing into it kind of a thing to see where you're going to be today.
Sometimes it's a dice set because if the point's 9, I know what set I'm going to because I'm shooting for the 9. I'm not shooting for any number out there because I know my set in my 9s is going to give me probably 5, 6s, and 8s. Right? So why would I bet 4s and 10s until they show up? Now, I've got this one little rule. If we're tossing and trying to be a controlled or influenced tosser, and let's just say the 9 is the second toss, and I'm not on it, I'm getting on it right then. I'm not waiting for the second one. I'm getting on it right then. If the 4 or the 10, the same way. If they come in the first 3 to 5 tosses, I'm going to put some money on the one that I rolled because things are happening, whatever those things are, that's causing those numbers to show off of that set.
Mm-hmm. So you're treating it like a virtual comeback almost. Like in your mind, it's like I threw it once, it's coming again.
Yeah.
Are you not changing sets then to get where you want to be? You're saying, well, the set I got, the toss I'm using today, this is what's coming. And you're going to stay there and not try and tinker with it too much? Or do you try and tinker to get back to where you want to be? That's the thing, right?
I'm shooting for the point. All right. So and I'm shooting for that 9. I threw a 9 and now all of a sudden I'm throwing something else. I'm going to stay with that 9 set and see if those things continue to happen. I'm not talking about trying to snipe, an ATS number or anything like that. I'm right. Shooting for the point because I probably got $100 odds on it. And if I don't hit it within 3 tosses, and I usually do my odds in quarters, so I can reach down and pull 2 of them back and put them in the rack. If I hadn't hit it in about 3 shots, I go ahead and pull it back to 50 instead of 100.
Okay.
Just past line regression or odds regression. I
Okay.
guess.
So if you're not seeing what you want quick, you're gonna pull off a little bit, which is kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because maybe maybe I got what I got or what I expected. Maybe that was the fluke, not the 4. Maybe the 4 wasn't the fluke. Maybe the 5,
Sure.
maybe the point was a fluke. So I'll regress it. I'll regress my odds back.
Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, because the more I throw, and I'm trying this out, right? The more that I throw, I find what you're saying, and again, I can't for the life of me prove any of it, right? It feels like today is the day that we're throwing these things. For whatever reason, what I'm doing today is producing X, and the next day it's producing Y, and I don't know why that happens, but it sure seems like you get into those.
You get into.
I don't even want to call it's not. It's a pattern more than anything else. To me, it's a mathematical pattern. But whatever the dice are doing, that's what's happening today. And I've seen that so many times. And so I'm not good enough to try and chase it because I don't really know what's happening at the end of the wall. So I'm not ready to try and chase a set. But you're reading dice and you're trying to not chase sets, but I see this that meant this set was either in play or not in play or whatever. What do you see when you see the when you're analyzing what's happening? Are you analyzing like the landing bounce settle? Or are you analyzing the result? Like what are you looking at when you go, oh, that set should have produced a 9, but I got a 4? Like what is your brain seeing in the dice down there?
Well, assuming the toss looks good and I'm hitting my landing zone like I expect. And the dice react like you want them to react back off the wall. Not one went over here and one came all the way back down. Hit something weird.
Sure.
About a regular good looking toss. I just want to know what I hit. Because that's what I get paid on. Did I hit? Did that 6? Was that a 5-1 or was that a 4-2? Right. I want to know. And at the end of the day, I don't care which one it was because that's the one I get paid on. But do I, you got to decide, do I need to change sets just because I'm not getting, and I don't do that just because I'm not getting what I expect. I'm going to get what I'm tossing. I'm going to bet what I toss. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, sort of. So like when I find, and again, I'm so new at this. That I throw the stack toss, right? And I throw my ones. Yeah. My ones are facing up. So when I throw the dice, I expect about 55-60% of the time, I'm going to see a 1 or a 6 on one of those dice, right? I know that I can get about 45 to 46% or so of the time. One of them, but not the other, will be there. And about 10% of the time, they both work, right? If I know if I'm in that, if I should be there, but I'm throwing and I got 5 shots in a row where I'm not seeing any 1s or any 6s. Right, my brain's telling me I screwed up. That's the thing. What caused it? In the moment.
Did any of those numbers repeat? Then you had to have no 1s or 6s.
Right. That's where I'm getting to now. It's like
if they're all 2s and 4s, don't change a thing. Right?
Yeah. If I'm getting results, I don't change nothing. But then I got to adjust to the betting on that, right? Or what I've been trying to think about is, well, if I'm not getting what I want, I could flip a die and start getting what I want because the toss today is working where nothing's working out. But if I flip the dice before I throw it, now I know that I can get back to the 1s and 6s being dominant, or I could set 2s on top and make my 2s the dominant, whatever I want to do. And that's what I'm seeing that I can kind of like want to try doing that. I don't know that I can pull it off yet, of course, but I'm starting to get like that.
Disaster when you say, well, let me flip a die.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Talk about that.
Right. I don't want to pick on anybody, but
no, please do.
We both know Sarge. Sarge.
Yeah.
And he's a great guy. I love him to death. And I was watching him in that little tournament thing he was shooting in. And he had a nice little run, and then all of a sudden he changed his dice set. I'm like, you dang idiot, don't change your dice set, you're on a good run.
Right.
Sorry, Sarge. But we want to do that. So you're stacking the dice, and you got a 1 on top, right?
Yep.
What's on the top of your bottom dice?
A 1. They're both 1s.
All right. So you got 1 6 1 6. You're throwing a hard way set or a hard way axial set all the time, right?
Right. That's right.
Because you take them, set them this way, and then you turn out your axis is this way instead of this way.
It is the hard way set flipped. That's exactly what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the axial set for the hard way set. So if you roll 1 over because you're not hitting 1s and 6s, why would you do that? What would make you change that one to what face? Those are the things you've got to learn. Is okay if I roll it this way, or did I twist it that way, or did I put?
I think what I was thinking was not that I want 1s or 6s, but the 1s and 6s are my indicator. So if I see that I'm not getting them, that means that my faces aren't staying where they should stay. So if my faces aren't staying where they should stay, so I'm getting more side faces than top and bottom faces, that means to me I need to change the dice so that the side faces have less 7s on them, or more thick box numbers. This is what I'm trying to think of. Is that valuable to even pursue? Because if I'm not getting tops and bottoms to work, if I'm getting only sides to work, I want my sides to be better potential outcomes. And you're right. That's when I get into these, 0.7 out festivals in the morning, trying to fix it.
If you still got it where I can share my screen.
I do. You want to go and let me change over to there, and you can.
I don't want to bore you, and if this is boring, cut it out.
It's all good.
Okay,
it's all good. Let's see.
All right. Now this spreadsheet's wore out. It's got some bugs in the. It's been open too long. Where you don't shut your computer off and close it. So you look how bad that is. 47. You see that 47.64% on axis.
Where is that?
Huh? I don't know why the pound signs show up. That's not good, right? I mean,
maybe stretch. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I see it now. Yep.
All right. So that's a book of 720 tosses. I threw this. This is old. Last year sometime. I only had 86 primary hits, man. That whole book, right? 720 tosses. Only 86 of them hit primary. 182 of them was single pitch. I'm a single pitch king, right? But I also had a bunch of off axis toss. 300 of those 720, obviously, since I only had this much on axis, 300 of them were off.
Yep.
1 dice, plus 77 both times. So that doesn't look all that keen, does it? But I mean, the SRR is decent, 9.11. Yeah. I mean, that's could have been an advantage play, right? Above 6. Let me show you something. Now, you're familiar with chi, right? The chi-square?
I am.
My chi-square was 0.0037. That's very low. That's a very low.
Yeah, it is.
That's very good, right? The lower the number, the better, right?
Yep.
Let me see if I can zoom this. Let me zoom mine in a little bit for you. That help?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's way better. Yep.
All right, look. So with that particular set, the bottom of the left die and the front of the right die happened 5.28% of the time on that 700. That's a pretty good. That's where this influence is coming from. I had 6-6 off of that. That was a result. That was the back of the left die and the right of the front die. Look at here. I must have been throwing a 2-1, 2-4. You think? Because the right die was giving me a 4 and the front die was giving me a 4. That's a hard 8. 3.5% of my tosses were hard 8.
Wow.
Is that an advantage?
No.
That's something to have in the back of your head when all of a sudden you're ready to throw that set and a hard 8 shows up? I think it is. So knowing these facials, right? So my number 1 7 was a double pitch on the top and the bottom, and it's too high for my liking, but that's what it was. So if I start seeing 2 5s or 5 2s, but basically Bone Tracker tracked it as a 2 5. Look how far I am to the reds or the rest of the 7s that you can make. Look how low the
look how much different. Yeah, huge difference. Yeah.
I mean, I never threw a 6-1, half 0.5%, right? So the thing I had to have to always watch for is the 2 5. The 5 2 is way down here next to the bottom.
Right. So I think it's interesting. So let me ask you this. Let me dive in here a little bit, because if you think about pure random, right, and a person who's a disbeliever in all this stuff, right, would say that your 7s should come, obviously, your SRR should be 6, and within the 6, you should have an exact distribution. 1.6, 60% of each of them should be the same type, right? Equal number of 5 2s, 2 5s, whatever, right? And the fact that you're not seeing that, just the 7s, the other combinations aside, the 7s alone is, the combinations being so different. And I see that on my tosses too. I see so many more of one kind of 7 versus the other kind of 7 because of the set and toss that I'm doing. When I see a 4-3, I'm like, what the hell just happened? There's no way that should ever happen. That's a weird one. And I'm like, what did I do wrong there? And I immediately go to, it's my fault. But that's interesting. The spread here.
So that's every combination, and the percentages they showed up during that 720 tossing. And I'm not standing at the table throwing 720 times in one day. I'm throwing about 72 tosses at a time that I log, and that's it. I don't, because you'll wear yourself out. You get into a point where you're not getting good data back because you're tired or whatever.
Yeah.
So you throw,
but this book,
so that's probably over a 10-day period. So I consider that pretty darn consistent.
It's cool. Here's my question though, right? This book represents that 10-day period. My 5,000 rolls represents the 6-month period that I've been working on things, right? How does that translate to the 72 times you're throwing at the casino on 6 months later? How does this help you at the table? Because this was, again, a controlled set of throws in your environment, but over multiple sessions, right? That's where I think where it's really hard to get your brain wrapped around for most of us. Like, how does that even go to the table? Because this is a moment in time, and you probably got 50 books like this, right? You must have many more.
So many. I was looking for others and I couldn't even find them. I've deleted so many over the years. And I don't make a lot of books anymore. I'll go in and test a few every now and then, about once a quarter, see if I'm still getting what I'm expecting to get with certain sets. But if you take that 4-4, for example, if I throw a 2-1, 2-4 set, which is what that was being tossed, and I put a $25 on the hard 8, and I don't put anything else on the hard way at all, and I go strictly $25 hard 8, and then that hard 8 hits, I'm in this mode right here. I'm in this mode. I want a hard 6, I go to 2-1, 2-3, because that's the same facials. See, it's the faces.
Yes, right. That's right.
Off that set. So if you look, let me blow this one up. I'll have to scroll around here on it because I've blown it up so big. That was the distribution. Red is your expected. 9 was a hot number that whole time. 10 was a good number. I was even a little bit above average on 11 and 12. Under on the 2, under on the 3, under on the 4. So I bet a lot of uptown.
I can see that. Yeah, mine is the opposite. Mine is all the low numbers. My distribution is always
You go with your advantage. Now let me see if I can get to where it really matters. Where am I going to be at on the table? You asked that question. How am I going to
Yep.
play it on the table? All right, over here on the far left-hand side, there's my SRR, 9.11, right? Right here
I'm looking for it.
I'm moving my cursor around it because I hadn't blown it up yet.
Oh yeah, it's off screen. Yeah, it's off screen for us.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
You see that? You can't see it, right?
No, we can't see it. No, it's off screen.
Let me see if I can blow it up.
I can see a 720 down there, but I don't see the SRR.
You see that one?
There it goes. Yep, there it is. Yep, now I see it.
If I'm going to scroll to the right,
okay.
I want you to keep your eye on that row 23. I've got it kind of highlighted there, right?
Yep, I see it. Yep.
All right. Oh, okay, I can't do it that way. I got to undo it. Let's see. Here we go. Do you see how, as I move my cursor, it's not going to move this stuff left of that gold color. It's just going to move this blue.
Yeah.
All right. You see how I'm moving it?
Yep.
See how I got 9.11 on all these numbers going across on that row 23?
Yep.
Those are all different sets that give me the same SRR.
This is all the dice sets. Okay.
Those are all different dice sets right up here.
Okay.
That give me the same SRR as what I just tossed at 720. And then it gives me the highest numbers out of all those different dice sets. So for example, if I go down here to row 26, this set gave me 154s and 10s, and this set right here gave me 154s and 10s. Obviously, this one gave me 92 10s. The other one gave me a higher number of 4s, but I got total of 150.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So that's those are the things I'm thinking about when I'm standing around waiting on the dice. And do I need that 10 for that ATS? Do I need that 12? Am I going to throw a world bet on the come out? Which one gives me the best world percentage? Those are the things I look at and think about.
Right. And this is part of that whole, there's 500 and whatever different dice sets, different combinations of setting. Correct. And that's you're coming from up top here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So all these are different dice sets going across the top. And there's 21 of them. 24 of them. Let's see, 24 of them. So those are the different combinations that give me the same SRR.
The same SRR. Same SRR, but different thickness within. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, but I get different numbers with each set. Right? Or I have a higher propensity for certain numbers with each set. You know, you got to go back and you got to keep practicing those sets. You've got to re-verify those sets. Because your toss will change over time. You'll pick up a bad habit, whatever it is. So I don't know if this helps or not, but that's the kind of stuff I think about.
It does. This is the thing. Again, I don't get this detailed, obviously. I'm just trying to see if I can, stay what I call in the pocket.
You're flirting with disaster. You're flirting with disaster by just turning one dice because you may be taking yourself from a SRR of 7 to an SRR of 3.5.
Sure.
And you don't know it. You don't realize it. You can't just pick the dice up and flip them over and think you'll throw the other side. It doesn't work.
Right. I guess that's a good point.
We used to think it did. But it doesn't.
What changed that? If you used to think it did, now we don't. What changed it? Is it this kind of application here?
This kind of stuff right here, being analytical about it and figuring out your facial matches and what your dominant faces are when you're tossing the dice, that kind of thing.
So what makes all that? I'm going to go back to the top of the screen here. What makes all that happen?
Yeah,
and the reason why back to you. So how I'm going to ask this question is this, because I shall go back to this here so you can see me a little bit. So when I did my slow motion stuff, right, I have this assertion, and Cage and I have argued about this a lot, right, because he thinks I'm nuts. But I know that because I stack, because I spin, I expect the physics of the dice are going to be, they're going to land, they're going to still be spinning because I spun them so hard, they're going to hit the wall and still be spinning, They're going to come off the wall and still be spinning, and they're going to hit the deck again and still be spinning. And the same numbers that were up when I started are still going to be up. Like the physics I expect to be that. And when I looked under slow motion, a few times, not every time, but it happens, right? There's a good percentage, 10, 15% of the time, that's exactly what happened. Like the physics were perfect. Like, oh my God, what I said was true. It actually freaking worked, right? What I can do with that, I don't know yet. On my toss, on my spinner toss, because I know I've got that gyro action going that's keeping them going no matter where they hit the diamonds, they can still be spinning. On the toss that you throw, which is more of the back spinny toss, what is the expectation? Because I think you've said this to me once before. I don't think anybody ever heard it. So I want you to explain it again. We talked one time about what it means to be on axis or off axis or single pitch, double pitch. And I think people talk about that and go, oh, it hit the wall and we landed in a double pitch configuration. But really you're saying, you've told me it's the throw that's a double pitch, not the result that's a double pitch, even though that's how Bone Tracker records
I mean,
it.
you don't know whether that was a single pitch or a triple pitch, really, do you?
No, that's what I'm. Yeah, right.
You don't really know.
Right.
More times than not, if you're not throwing them correctly, I mean, you're going to get more double pitches than you are on axis or single pitches. I mean, if one's higher than the other, one lands half a second before the other one does because the other one took a big arc and this one went low. I mean, those are double pitches waiting to happen right there.
So you're saying, so hold on right there. So in the air, you're saying in the air. So if you're throwing them in the air and they're like this.
Yeah.
And one of them is like this because they're not spinning at the same speed. Is that what you're saying is a double pitch? Like because they landed,
no, I mean,
they landed wrong, or
it's going to cause the double pitch a lot.
Okay.
That's not the double pitch. The double pitch is the result.
Okay.
I mean, that's what we played on. That's what we count.
Right, but it could be but it could be a 20 pitch. I've seen some slow motion where the dice just go.
Oh, it could be any number of pitches.
Yeah,
it's just how does it land when they pay you, or when they take them away from you.
Right.
I mean, that's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
So
how do you fix it? Like that? I guess that's what I'm so confused by it. Yeah.
I go by the physics. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I think that's first law of thermodynamics, if I'm not mistaken. Learn to get that equal reaction off that opposite reaction. That's all I can tell you. I think. I mean, we both want to believe there's something in there. I believe it because I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've said that a million times. So.
I think that's where I rumble. So I rumble in my head about the physics because of what you just said. There's equal and opposite, right? And I think when I read the book that Dom put out way back, and he was trying to explain the physics in that book about the 45-degree angle and the speed and the rotation and the centripetal force and all that stuff, right? It's like they're going to be spinning backwards at a certain speed, at a certain angle, and they hit, right? Physics would tell you that when they're spinning backwards and they hit, what direction should they change to? Should they change to be a forward spin at that point into the back wall, right? Where my dice stay in the same rotation, the same direction all the time. They don't change direction. The backwards toss, they change direct when they hit. They don't keep spinning backwards. They change and they either go forward or they split and spins. The energy has to go somewhere. Right? How do you expect the energy to be not dissipated, but used by the dice? Should they stay backwards or should they flip forward in a perfect world?
It's a good question. I don't know if I got a good answer. Because you want them to dissipate as much of the energy as you can if they land flat. Landing flat will dissipate the most energy. Got the most surface. Hitting the table.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
So if you got the most surface hitting the table, you've dissipated a lot of the energy. Now the momentum is going to carry them on. So they're landing. They're going this way. They land, right? but the momentum is carrying them this way. So they will
So
end up with a forward roll.
Yep.
Or a tendency. They could be dead. They could be dead in the air flopping over there, but the momentum is still carrying them towards the wall because you haven't dissipated that part of the energy yet, right? Hits the wall, then it comes back, and they stop. That's what you want. Or you want them to, in a perfect world, die at the bottom of the pyramids.
They never hit the diamonds. Hit that bottom. Yeah.
In a perfect world, you'd want that. I'm not good enough to do that.
I remember seeing Dom talk about hitting the bottom of the diamonds. Yeah, he used to say hit the bottom of the diamonds, like the underside of it.
That's why a lot of us throw them close to the wall, because when they go up, it pushes them right back down. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still not. I mean, I don't know that you'd get a whole lot better results with flat walls than you do with diamonds, but we'll never know. I mean, we could pretend to find out someday, I guess, on a fake table, but they've got them up there. It makes the casinos feel good to have them up there.
So you feel like the number one thing is energy control.
If they didn't think it wasn't possible, they wouldn't put that up there. They left them flat.
Well, the thing is, and I think if you look historically, right, a lot of the stuff is because of cheaters, right? People used to cheat. They would slide. They'd have the one, I forget, they had like their hold the dice in there, and they would slide one and throw one, and it would never hit the wall or whatever. And guys got really good at cheating it, so they made it so you can't quote unquote cheat. I don't know that it was really designed to stop DIs. I think the back wall is designed to stop flat out.
It's really designed.
Cheaters.
It's really to stop the cheaters.
And I don't believe this is cheating. Do you believe this is cheating? Like if you had an advantage, let's say you actually were like really good. I'm not saying that you're not. Let's say you were like really, really good. You had that 9-point-something SRR all the time, and you were like dialed in, right? The game is set up to be a random game, right? Are you sidestepping the inherent randomness?
I'm still random enough that it's not cheating. I mean, I can't call a shot very often. I mean, I can hit a hotbed every now and then just because I'm lucky. But, no, it's not cheating. It's the rules are throw the dice, hit the back wall. Now it's up to them whether they want to call it or not. It's up to them. So it's their house. It's their rules.
Yeah, I've heard people call it that. I've heard people say this is basically cheating because you're trying to circumvent or you're trying to go against what the laws out there are. Like trying to whatever. Well, the laws of physics, like you're trying to. But I feel like you're using the laws of physics. If you can pull this off, you're using the laws of physics to your advantage, or to kind of harness them where some people aren't.
Well, they're using the laws of physics to try to keep me from doing it.
It's true. Yeah.
I mean, they are. So, if nothing else, I got a stronger right arm than I got a left arm. I've been throwing dice for 20 years.
You got this rocking the deltoids out there on the right side.
It doesn't really work that way. They're not heavy enough, but you got that motion going.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean. Now, my tell you what is for me is my game.
On my shoulder just because I like to do that, I guess. But.
It's my hips. My hips have like because you have to open up and everything else, and like my everything else is hurting all the time now. I'm throwing so damn much.
Well, I get we're talking about dialed in and stuff. I get so locked into my position when I'm tossing that if I go on one of those really, really long runs, I'm talking about a really long run, I can barely move when I 7 out. I'm so locked in. My joints are locked. Everything. It takes me a while to recover from a long run. 40 or more, it starts getting really tough on me.
And you're on the table the whole time? Do you walk around? Do you are you just kind of sitting there and you're just locked? What is your like physical approach out there?
98% 8% of the time, I don't move my left arm. I don't move my feet. I don't move my hips. I don't move my knees. I move nothing other than my right arm to collect money.
Wow.
I move nothing. There are rare occasions where you got some guy that's takes a long time to make a bunch of prop bets, and I'll start getting tired and stiff, and I will stand up and I'll kind of flex those arms, and maybe I'll just stare at a TV screen across the way until they slide me the dice, or I'll stare at the puck, but I'll straighten up, get out of that position just because he's taking a long time.
That's interesting. See, I'm kind of the opposite.
When I go back to the table, before I pick up those dice, I'm looking for that warm spot on that rail that I just let go of, and I want that same spot. If I'm in the hook and I'm locking my hip, if I'm locking my hip into the edge of the rail and I'm leaning way out, maybe I'm stretching way out with my left hand, which is my normal shot from the hook down there, and I'm shooting down. I'm looking for that same spot I just had my hand in because it's going to be warm. I'll find it.
I do that for sure. I definitely step back between shots. I walk around a little bit, shake it out, kind of, try not to get stiff. Most of the time, I actually watch the TV. Like you're saying, I watch the TV. I try and shut the whole table out. That's why I'll take a step back for a minute, let them pay everybody, and sort of, walk, like I said, just get away from it. But when I'm there, if I'm staying there, I'm watching the TV, I'm waiting until I hear the dice come to me, and then I come back into it. I just don't want the noise of the room to kind of get into my head.
I try not to move. I mean, I try not to move. The older I get, the harder it is to unmove. You've been sitting there so long.
Yeah, right. You're younger than me. Come on now.
But I am. I'm younger than you. Yep. Yeah, right.
Yep.
I got kids your age, probably.
You do not have kids my age. There's no way. Oh my gosh. And you don't drink at a table. You don't drink at the table at all, right?
Very rarely. I will. If I order something, it's a mixed, and I'll get a bottle of water with it too. But I mean, I don't sit there and just slam whiskey.
Oh, I don't slam. I get my whiskey rocks, which I've learned over the years, whiskey rocks from the well can be random, obviously. But, they're giving you like not even one finger, and it's like 19 ice cubes. I've come to the point now where I love the taste of whiskey. I love it. Like soda, I love it. And so when they bring it to me, my favorite right now, my two that I'm into is I love Canadian whiskey. So I love me some Swear Jar. That's my daily driver. And I love Angel's Envy. Those are my two number one that I go to. The other stuff that I'll drink, the 1792, I like a lot. And I don't know why I like it. But I
don't like it at all.
I just love that. Like I said, I get it so I can chew the ice at the table. By the way, I will annoy the crap out of you. I'm an ice chewer, and when I'm nervous or when I'm playing, I always have ice in my mouth. And yeah, and when I get the whiskey, I like it to melt a little bit into the ice and kind of merge a little bit. And then to me, those flavored ice cubes are where it's at for me. So I don't drink at the table, but I enjoy that flavor so much. That's what I do, which is kind of, I think, it won't get me drunk at all, obviously, but it's the way I enjoy it.
Angel's Envy is cured in port wine casks.
Mm-hmm. I love port. I do love a good port wine.
And so it is not a bourbon; it's a whiskey.
What's the difference? What's bourbon versus whiskey?
Oh man, you don't know, do you?
It's not. The world wants to know. From the brown water guy.
All bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon. Number one. So to be a bourbon, it must be brewed in the United States. Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If it's Canadian, it's not bourbon.
Right.
It's got to have a minimum of 51% corn. Minimum of 51% corn. And it's got to be in barrels that are oak and charred. to be a bourbon.
Okay.
All right.
Charred
So
oak.
the Angel
Okay.
Envy may or may not. I don't know. I don't think they char their barrels before they do the port wine. I don't think. So that's just getting the flavors from the wine that's soaked into the wood while it's aging. It's just picking up those notes. Angel's Envy, I enjoy it. It's very good.
I love it. It's so smooth. Well, I just got a bottle of the Swear Jar Black, which is like a different version of the Canadian that I like, and it very much tastes like a bourbon to me. You can really taste the wood in that. My wife's like, "Do you like this one?" I'm like, well, it's different. It's so.
Yeah, the black is probably a barrel proof type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being cut with water. But that's your basic differences. I tend to stay on the bourbon side, not the whiskey side. But I mean, there's rye I like. I mean, I like a good rye instead of just.
I do like a rye.
Bourbon.
I do like a rye for sure.
The 1792, I bought a bottle of it and I did not enjoy it. I probably will never buy another one.
Really, I didn't mind it. It was okay. Like me, I'm at the stage now where I love the taste of, like I said, whiskey bourbon. I'm now experimenting. So every time we go, I get an Angel's Envy, a Swear Jar, and something else. That's kind of where I'm at. And I'll use those three for however long it takes me to get through them. And I'm trying to figure out what it is, that third one, that I'm starting to find what my zone is. What do I like with them? And I think I don't like anything sweet, for sure. Like some of these flavored ones or whatever, it's too much. I do like what Jameson does with some of their cask mates. Those are pretty good. It depends on which one you get, but some of them got a nice little hint.
Jameson Black is good. The black cask strength is I like it.
Yeah. They've got one that's a coffee brew. That's good. They make a coffee, not coffee flavored, but it's what do they call that? Jameson Dark Roast or something like that. It's really good. It's like the perfect drop it in your coffee Irish coffee kind of a thing. It's got a little bit of coffee, a little bit of that burnt like espresso kind of flavor into it. That shit is so good. I love it.
No whipped cream in my Irish coffee at the table, please.
No. You want to get that mustache all whitened up?
Yeah, I mean, I'll do it as after dinner drink somewhere, but I don't want the whipped cream or whipped topping, whatever they call it, on top of the table. If I get, a lot of times you get a Bailey's and coffee or something like that in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Once in a while. Depends on, the night before, I guess.
A lot of guys are into it every morning. I'm not. You're not going to get good coffee at a craps table anyway, but.
No, in the mornings, my morning sessions, I go to Starbucks and get me a hardcore coffee. I'm a 4-shot. I'm a 4-shot latte kind of guy. Like, just give me all the espresso, all that caffeine before I get there. And I like that. I guess that's why, like even with the whiskeys, I like that harsh. I love a harsh coffee. I love the whiskey to bite a little bit. That's, I think. I used to smoke. I told you I smoked for years and years and years. I still miss it. Like so much, I miss it. My wife is like, "You're nuts." We're at my mother-in-law's house, and her house, she still smokes inside. She's like, "How can you want that smell?" I'm like, "It's not the smell, it's the bite. It's the inhale. I don't care about the nicotine. I don't care about anything else. It was the bite of a draw. That's what I miss, and that's what I get that from whiskey. I get that from hard. Yeah, man, it's like that's what I miss. So Ed, honest to God, I dream still. I'm 54 now, right? I quit smoking when I was 35, 36, I guess, when I died. I still dream about being at parties and being allowed to light somebody's cigarette for them. Like I'm like at dinner with people. Okay, I'll light it for you, and that's like still that has a grip. Something having a grip on you. That's never left. It's insane, right?
Well, I quit smoking and took up vaping many years ago, but the only way I could get off the cigarettes was to vape. And
I tried to vape because
I've got to figure out how to get rid of that now.
Well, it gives you the bite. It gives you that same bite, but vaping is it does something to your lungs different. Smoking tars them up. Vaping does something different to them. I'm not really sure there's enough research on it yet.
There's not. There's not. I mean, it's got to be better than smoking, but it's not as good as clean air.
Anything's better than smoking. It's like the worst thing. But like I said, I'm the maniac who will. I can sniff out somebody smoking in a car on the freeway, like way ahead of me, and I'll open the vents of my car and I'll get behind them to get some of that. Like that's how. Yeah, right. It's silly, but it's like those little triggers that you get, you know? It's yeah. I don't know. Whatever gets you through the day, I guess, right? That's kind of how it all bugs down. Yeah. So well,
the other thing on bourbon is too, I don't know the number, but there is a limit of its alcohol content or the proof of it, and it's high. It's way higher than we really want probably, but there is a technical limit on the proof of a bourbon as well.
Is it like 91 or something like that?
No, it's higher.
It's higher than that, really?
Way
okay.
Higher. Yeah, it's like 125 or 130.
Seriously?
Or something. Yeah,
I can't imagine 125 proof.
I forget what it is, but it's a high number.
That's pushing it though. To me, that's a little too much. I mean, that's, that takes the sipping joy out of it at that point.
Because, that bullet over there is like 92 proof. This is a good bottle. I don't know if you can find this there.
I can find anything. We have a Total Wine over here that's got probably 1,000 different whiskeys and bourbons in it. There's 2 full supermarket size aisles full.
I really like this right here. It's called Eleanor.
Uh-huh.
I can't get it in Alabama.
Oh, really?
It was a gift. Yeah,
okay.
It was a gift. But you can see on the side, they handwrite on the label. I'm not going to turn it over too much, but it tells you the proof on this is 118.4.
Jeez.
And it tells you which barrel it came from, which bottle of the barrel this is from, and how many months it was aged.
No kidding. And it's handwritten. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, it's all handwritten. It was done with new oak. So this is not a bourbon. This is a whiskey. Well, I guess it probably was charred because the label does say bourbon whiskey, but so it was new oak. It wasn't a used barrel from Jack Daniels or someplace. But you can find that. Get you a bottle of it and see if you like it. They've got 2 or 3 different elements of that. Eleanor does.
I'll go check it out. I know our Total Wine, which is like I said, it's like a alcohol supermarket. That place it's as big as a supermarket. It's so huge, and they have 2 full aisles of whiskeys and a whole back wall, and they've got like one aisle is all Canadian. Like there's so many different varieties. They got stuff locked up they have like a $3,000 bottle of something behind a lock and key, and I'll check it out because if anybody's going to have it, they're going to have it.
Yeah, see if they've got Eleanor. Yeah. I like it. It's right. Different. It's not something I can get local at all. So
yeah, I'll check it out. Yes, I've got at my disposal one of the biggest selections around, which is I will miss that about Seattle when I move out of here for sure. Don't know if there's Total Wines everywhere else, but
there. I don't even really like the Weller and the Buffalo Trace. They're so popular. The only reason they're popular is because they lowered the ability to get it. It's like my liquor store said, when we had it sitting on the shelf, nobody'd buy it. When we took it off the shelf, now everybody wants it.
Interesting.
So,
yeah, and my daily driver, like I said, daily driver for me is either Jameson or it's the swear jar. That's what it's all about. But I do have that one extra, the one crazy one that I always say, So yeah.
I like Bullet. Bullet's my go-to. That's my daily driver then.
Yeah.
I used to drink a lot of Wild Turkey back in the day too.
Yeah, I drank a lot of Jack when I was younger, but I was, kid. Now I'm trying to now I want to learn it. Like now I'm at the point it's like with dice. I'm like, as I get older, I'm like, I want to enjoy everything more. You know what I mean? I enjoy craps way better now that I'm trying to throw, and maybe it's higher stress that I'm thinking I can do what I can or can't do, but I enjoy practicing so much more now. I enjoy
Oh
my
yeah.
whiskey so much more now that I'm kind of learning about it. And it's like, to me,
There's
like
only
this is
one.
the time, right?
I have one YouTube channel on whiskey that I subscribe to, and there's a gazillion of them out there, but there's only one that I even watch.
Who is it? I'm gonna write it down.
SLB.
SLB. Okay, I'll put that
Yep.
in the description for this video here. SLB whiskey channel.
Yeah.
There you go. Cool.
They were doing this blind. That's what I was watching Friday night when their phones were going off with the. Uh, they did a blind bracket challenge. This guy and his
Oh,
son.
cool.
And so they started out with all these different whiskeys and different brackets, and they both drank them blind. They were all blinds. They didn't know what they were drinking when they were poured. They'd come out to their bar and they were already poured, and they wouldn't even allow them to stay in the same room while one was sampling to pick their favorite.
Hmm.
Right? And so one would move in, and a lot of times they were moving the same bourbons down the bracket, and then all of a sudden the dad would pick this one and the son would pick another one, and then the brackets would start evolving. But they had their final bracket Friday night, and I
Well,
was
that's
sitting there
cool.
and watching it. Yeah,
That's
it was
pretty cool.
it was interesting to see how they came out with what they picked, and they were shocked at what they came out with.
I saw a thing like that one time where they had these super snobby people about their vodka people, like very, very uppity about, I would never drink. Same thing. They had a table and they were all sitting around a table. They were all sampling at the same time. And at the end of it, they all picked like Grey Goose or some shitty vodka, and, and they were all so angry about it because they picked the cheapest one. Like, well, whatever. Sometimes you like what you like,
I watched those guys the other night. Those guys are amazing to me. I mean, there's no limit on what people can do on YouTube, right? They had over 2,000 watching that show live.
Good Lord. Wow.
Friday night.
God, I'm happy to get 35 people watching me live.
They had over 2,000. By the time they were 30 minutes into that thing, there was like 2,300 people, I think.
Wow, that's awesome.
You talk about trying to keep up with the chat. You didn't even have to watch the chat. Chat's just going by so fast.
Yeah.
Super chats, crazy numbers.
Man, that's awesome.
I mean, they were getting $100 super chats.
Jeez. I guess I got to start saying better stuff. I don't know.
I'm thinking I got to bring more whiskey into the craps room. Is what I'm thinking.
Oh man, wow, that's hysterical. Yeah, you guys. Oh look, guys, I'm out. I need some help over here, and then we'll get some super chats for you.
Yeah. I mean, they was crazy, but it's interesting to see what they do, and they do a pretty good channel. I think it's the bracket caught my interest. That's the only one.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So, before we get out of here, let me ask you something about YouTube. So, everybody's got their own why, right? So I asked you way back, right? You practiced for like 4 or 5 years, right? You had a home built table, then you had the good table. Somewhere in that space, you started a YouTube channel. Why? Why put yourself in front of all the people, especially on dice throwing? Because people love and hate dice throwers, right? Why jump into the fray on like a controversial thing, number one, and just why?
I wish I had a really, really good answer for you, but it really boiled down to I was recording my stuff anyway. And I was just recording it on a laptop camera, and I'd take my laptop into the office and I'd sit down with the guys at work and I'd say, what's this toss I did last night? And I was recording it anyway. And I just eventually decided I'd go ahead and give it a shot, see if I could do it. It's too much work for what you earn. I'm not in it to do it. I'm never going to get rich off of it. I can promise you that. Which is one of the reasons I keep thinking about either doing memberships or doing Patreon, not to get rich, but at least to get compensated for something that you're doing.
Mhm.
That'll
It's a
take
ton
a
of time.
while. And if you do that, that's going to tick people off because they don't want you to do that. I get it.
Right.
So I don't know. I turned my memberships on twice, and then I've turned them off. I didn't announce it when I turned them on, and then
Hmm.
I'd get real nervous about having it on there, and I'd go there and turn them back off because I was afraid of the commitment that I would then have to those people who were putting money into the channel. You know, um,
I did the exact same thing on Pro Craps. I turned it on, turned it off, turned it on. I was like, what do I do with this thing? Because I don't want to be, that guy that's out there trying to sell it. And I turned them
well,
on the CGTV channel and said, hey, you're going to get nothing for this. It's like, hey, this is your way of saying thank you, and I can hire somebody to make new graphics for everybody. But I didn't
well,
want
I
to
mean,
go at it like,
you did it right. Yeah, I mean, I saw the night you did it. I saw, well, that makes sense. You're not getting nothing. Just give me some support, right?
mhm,
We can go from there. And maybe that's
right,
what I should have done. I wanted to get into, you know, the brown water bunch. I wanted the
yeah,
brown water bunch. I wanted to have the different uh, glasses with my logo and all that
mhm,
disappeared off the market. I couldn't find what I needed all of a sudden, and the regular little shot glasses that I did there, I can still find those, but those are very hard to do. I'm going to have to go the shooter style. That's just like a straight cylinder.
yeah, yeah.
I can do those much easier than those conical shaped shot glasses, things like that. But I wanted to kind of graduate the glasses up with the levels and make it. I probably was making it too complicated, so maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a good
Yeah.
thing I didn't do it.
It's hard. This YouTube thing is so damn hard. It's like you do it because we love it, right? To me, it's like I said this before. I did it for transparency. Like I did. If I do it every day, then it's keeping me honest, kind of a thing. I don't think we're gonna make any money off of this, and that's you know that. And
I
I
don't
think
get a check every month.
you
A lot
know
of people get a check every month. I don't get a check every month.
no, I don't either. I've got no, I mean, my YouTube earnings are very very small, and I let them sit there. I told YouTube, don't send me a check until it reaches like $5,000. So I'm probably never gonna get a check. Right? It'll be like one in like 3 years from now. I'm gonna get a nice check from them, and that'll be a vacation somewhere, and that'll be it. That's
Yeah.
not why I did it. But a lot of people get this impression, especially from a dice person, right? There's teaching you how to throw the dice, that there's at the end of the rainbow, there's somebody trying to sell you something, right? Or do something nefarious or whatever. And I obviously that's not my game. You're a dice thrower. And do you get a lot of that like flack from people? People like give you a bunch of shit for that? Or I don't think you probably do. You seem to me like you're such a straight shooter that you're
I've
not
only
trying
got
to,
one or
you know.
two. Yeah, my grandchildren were so excited when they found out I had a hater, and
That's awesome.
they thought I was really popular then because I had a hater. But I don't.
That's
I
great.
don't get. I don't get many. I'll probably get a bunch now, but
You start charging for it, you're going to get people. That's the thing, right? The minute you start putting a dollar figure on that, that's what that's why people don't like King Dice and to some degree Heavy and those guys and Tony Leo and all the guys that like it's their business. There's the business of dice, and then there's the everybody else that's just doing it because we love doing it of dice. And
well,
there's a crossover that I think, and those guys are good people. It isn't like they're bad people, but there's the negative, like the hater look at them,
we
right?
live in a free market. We live in a free market society, and those things will gravitate. Money will gravitate to wherever it gravitates to. Um, I kind of wanted to get into it virtually. I wanted to do something nobody's ever done before. I did it with Sideshow.
Hmm?
We did it live. That was kind
Yeah,
of
it
the
was.
test run. I did it. Sideshow Gamble changed his whole way he was tossing, landing zone,
Yeah.
everything. When we did it virtually, and it worked. And so, in all honesty, that was kind of a test run I wanted to see if I could do. Now, prior to that, I had done the ones where people would send me a videotape, and then
Yeah.
I would use that as content to throw out to the community on helping this person try to improve their shot. So my real idea was to probably go inside Patreon, probably, or someplace else, and for X amount of dollars, whatever that was going to be, you got me for a lesson every quarter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of pay up, because why would I do it for free, right? Why would I take time out of my day to help you make money and get nothing out of it? I mean, that's the way I look at it. So,
Yeah.
right or wrong, you got to compensate your coach, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
to me,
I had no problem with that. Yeah.
You know, and I think it can be done virtually up to a point. There's only so much you can do with a camera on a dice table. I mean, so
Right.
it's not that it wasn't going to be an exorbitant amount of money. You know, let's just say $25 a month. You got in for once a quarter. You know, that's $75. That's cheap.
Yeah.
That is
Well, like
cheap.
you said, if you're giving up, it's a different thing, right? If you're giving up hours out of your data, and I've said this before, right? When I've talked about, you getting the hard hat award at some point, right? It's doing that kind of stuff. I know you don't want it. Nobody wants it now. I don't. It was a really good idea that I had. Nobody seems to want the hard hat. But to me, it's like it's a putting in that work. I know you did the thing with Sideshow. I know you work with my friend Ian Olson here in Seattle, virtually offline kind of thing. And I'm like, nobody knows. Like, that's hours. That's 2 hours out of your life that you're not spending with wife and kids and everything else, right? There's no reason why that somebody couldn't throw you $50 or whatever it is for that, right? There's a difference of that versus, hey, sign up for my magical $3,000 thing, and we're gonna, there's like that whole, right? And I think there's a difference there, right? There's an honesty difference. There's an expectational difference.
Even the ones I was doing where people were sending in the video, I would watch that video 3 or 4 times before I even put myself on a camera to load it up there so I could try to analyze it. I would just
that wasn't a hot take. I thought you did those just as a hot take. Let's look at it right now. You were actually spending hours before.
I was watching them 3 or 4 times before I ever went to do the shoot, just so because I wanted it to be accurate. I wanted to see if I was, then come back and watch it again. And then did I see what I saw? Did I really see it? That kind of thing. So, I watched them a lot before I went into it.
That's pretty amazing. So you got a lot of eyes on some dice throwing then. You've seen a lot of throws, landing and all the things. You've seen all the train wrecks. Yeah. All
of them. And I've worked, I've helped Heavy out in his classes before. I mean, I've seen it all. From guys and gals who had some talent to those who had absolutely no talent and a really bad attitude about it.
Get those people that show up to a class like that and expect to come out of there millionaires, right?
Yeah. And they'll sit there with their arms crossed and their chin down while you're trying to teach somebody else instead of sitting there trying to learn. They spent good money. I mean, they spent really good money to be there.
Yeah, those classes ain't cheap. I know that.
No, and I didn't get compensated for helping either. On that, 0. I just was helping because there was too many people sometimes.
It's interesting.
I mean, you can have.
I can't picture somebody paying a bunch of money having a shitty attitude about it, like not wanting to participate. Like that just,
They do, and then they'll bitch about it to me. They'll come to me afterwards and, well, I didn't get nothing out of that. And I'm like, well, you were out there smoking cigarettes by the swimming pool.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's so funny. People are just people, man. I mean, like I said, there's the crowd that says that's bullshit, charging for it. There's the people that say, okay, I'm going to pay for it and not pay attention. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's because people. Because people suck. That's why. People.
I took a lot of classes from Heavy, and I spent really good money for those classes. My intent was to always win that money back ASAP. Doesn't always happen, but that's your intent. You want to go out there and win it back. But what's funny is when you win it back on your own toss instead of somebody else's.
Well, yeah. There's let me end with this question here. Betting on yourself versus other people you know. Because that's an interesting thing. I know you're having a meetup soon. I know Ed's having a meetup, or Jeff's having a meetup. We're doing the DiceCon thing in January. A lot of dice throwers going to be all together at one time. Right?
But I don't know how good any of them are. I
know you don't. And you know how good some of them are. You've played with some people. I've played with a few people. I know kind of what they do. Your approach of, I'm going to bet on what's hitting because I'm throwing it. I know what my dice are doing. Do you take that same approach on somebody else? If they're a good throw, you do?
If they're in the influence community, yes.
Okay.
If they're exhibiting influence, either practicing or on the table, yes, I'll throw. I bet I'm not going across. I'm maybe not even going inside. I might just bet 3 numbers or 2 numbers, fill bet and come bet. I want to know how things are going to look.
Yeah.
It's the same thing for me. I mean, if the 9's not paying the rent, it don't need to have any money on it, right? So
yeah, a little bit of common sense right there from old Ed.
Yeah, I mean, to me, we said this the other night. I did, and y'all kind of laughed at me on that radio on the show we did Sunday night, where I said, you got guys that are going out there and they're putting $110 inside to win 35.
Yep.
Why?
I've said it before. You're laying against the 7. People get pissed off when you put $100 on the 4 to win 50. Betting more to win less. And I think going inside, going across is the same argument. You're laying the 7.
The ones I'm talking about are those that are doing 110 inside are the ones that say you don't win enough by laying the 4.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same guys. But they're playing 110 to win 35, and they could lay 100 on 1 number or on 2 numbers and win 50.
Yeah, it's
sense to me, but they do it.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I do it. I'm an inside. I'll bet inside. Again, hoping that the pocket is in there when I'm throwing, and then we decide what's going to. And I'm a pressing what I'm throwing kind of person. Once I'm in there, that's what most strategies that I promote are. Press hard on what's hitting. I don't press all the numbers. I'm not a believer in that because I think it's too you're spreading. You're getting too thin on the wins if that's the case. But if you're doing it to kind of
you can do fun things. But I remember one time we were at the Beau Rivage, me and another guy, and we kind of said, let's take everything we win on the 9 and pile it on the 8, and everything we win on the 5 and pile it on the 6.
Make the big stack. Yeah.
Let's just keep doing it and see what happens. Well, the dealer was good. He figured that crap out. I mean, we had some oddball numbers out there, but he got them paid. But why would you do that? I mean, you're only doing that because you're just trying to have fun, I guess.
Right? That's an absolutely. I'm going with my friends. Let's do something stupid kind of play. I've done it here on my show. Remember, we called it the Buttercup. That one day I did it, and I never hit an 8. I had like 30 something rolls and hit 0 8s. Never. I had the 8 piled up like a foot tall and never collected on it. It's fun, but that's a little bit.
I mean, I've seen guys take their winnings, and in real life, take their winnings and pile it on hardways.
Really?
Every number that hit, they just pile up it on hardway. If it was an 8 hit or not, they just kept piling, and then all of a sudden, boom. All of a sudden, they get a hard 10 or a hard 4.
What's funny is Vince does that. Vince Armenti does a lot of where he'll collect an inside number. Let's say it pays $35. He'll take the quarter and put the 10 in the field, right? Where he's throwing the $10 away, basically. But taking the 10 and lifting those things up could be kind of a fun little side bet. if you don't care about the nickels, I guess, right?
Yeah, if you don't care about it, do it.
You know, yeah,
It's every once in a while it's going to hit. Just every once in
yeah.
a while.
I don't know. I tend to care about all the money. I work hard for that.
I have
I
to
work
cover
really
that
hard.
big where my wife's pulling them one-armed bandits, but um, too much. But you got to, again, you're going to place some bet, whether it's just a 6 or 8. I've I've taken a 6 on random shooters. I decided because I was getting knocked off the don'ts. I said, okay, I'm just going to bet a 6. And I've seen my 6 go, collect. Okay, that felt good. I'm going to collect another one. Okay, that felt good. They hit 6 again. Give me an 8. Next thing I know, I'm trying to decide, do I really want to take that 6 and 8 to a 42? Right? So I do it.
Mm-hmm.
I do it. And they never hit 6s and 8s. And so I'm collecting $50 every time they throw dice. I'm like, next time they do it, I'm gonna get a 4 and 10 off that $50. Then I go to 9, and they just kept hitting. And you're starting with one number. I mean, it happens. It doesn't happen a lot, but I mean, it can happen. But it's a great way. It's like when I play crapless. All right, I'm playing crapless on random shooters. I have one bet I like. $35 12. That's all I risk.
Seriously, on a random shooter.
It's the closest to a donut as I can get. I bet a $35 12 to get me the maximum payout for $1 vig.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't chase it. I don't chase the 2 or the 12. I just stay on the same number.
No shit. That's funny.
And the dice will go all the way around, and somebody will hit it. Sometimes they hit it twice.
That's interesting. What?
$35 12, and I got nothing else on the table, and I'm just standing there waiting on the dice.
Let somebody get it. Yeah.
Huh?
Just let somebody get it.
Yeah, and then it gets hit. And that's 6 times 35.
That is such a funny thing. That's fantastic. So yeah, you just need
Up to $1 big.
Yep.
$35. Just waiting on dice. But if you're playing with people who play a lot of crapless, and in northern Mississippi, up at Tunica, those guys come out of Memphis, they can throw some 12s. They can throw some numbers. I saw it in New Orleans as well. I did the same thing, made super bank on a crapless table. So it depends on where you're at and how good they are at throwing those outside numbers.
And are those guys setters, or are they just what they happen to throw?
Some of them are what I call rhythm throwers, and then some of them are setters.
Okay. I had a guy. I was playing what?
Style.
So that's a funny thing. I was playing. Where was I playing? I forget where I was playing, and the table was not going so great, And this guy comes up. He's on the other side of the stick from me, and the guy next to me says, "Oh, this guy's a good thrower. Go heavy on him. He's a good thrower." And he grabs the dice. He grabs the dice and he goes and throws them. And I'm like, how in the hell are you saying that guy's a good thrower? Because he got lucky last time. Like, that's why I asked the question. Because rhythm throwers are one thing, but guys that just, doing that, you can't be good at that. There's no being good. Set on the 12.
Those guys will throw more 12.
Set on the 12. That's great.
Just set on that 12.
That's funny. That's pretty funny.
Because it hits. It just hits. I don't know why.
Oh, it does. It does.
You can do it with the 2. I mean, there's no mathematical advantage over the 12 over the 2. I think the difference is you just got to pick one number and you just got to stay on it. And now it hurts. Yeah. I've seen 3s. I've seen 2s tossed, multiple times, and I'm sitting there on a 12 and got nothing on it by the same guy. I'm not getting paid, and if I was down there, I'd be paid 3 times already. But you just got to stay with it and let that work through.
I think what's funny is I do that on bubble craps. Bubble craps, I wait till I see a 12 or a 2, and then I start betting the 12 and the 2, and I progress the bets, almost like laddering up every single roll. The bubble craps gets into a zone, and that thing will start hitting multiples of those things back to back. Because I think the dice kind of get into they settle in a little bit. I've never tried it with a person though.
The most I've ever thrown in one hand was 512s.
Jeez.
That's the most I've ever done.
That's amazing. My thing is the 1, 2, 3s. Yeah. My threes are where I would, if I was going to do it on myself, I would do the 3. That's the one I throw the most. I don't throw a lot of 12s.
I had the 2, 3s, 11, and 12s because I was throwing and I was hitting them. But I'm talking about within that one crapless hand, I went from 25 to 50 to 100 to 250 to 500. Dare me to hit it again, please.
Damn. Right? Wow.
I'm just gonna keep, because once it's up, when you get you get paid 6 times. That first hit at 100, you got 600 in the rack.
Yeah, why not, right?
I mean, somebody gonna do it. Might as well be me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go up.
Might as well be me. That's fantastic. All right, man. Let's cut it here. That's been what, an hour and a half, 2 hours?
We've been here about something like that.
Couple hours. Yeah, we always intend. That's a nice hour show, and it turns into a couple hours. It's all good. Yeah. It's all good. Hopefully, people will enjoy the chat, man. I thanks for doing this on a Sunday, by the way. If you folks don't know, this is a Sunday. We're doing this on Sunday morning, so I appreciate that. Ed, you're awesome. So, all right, man. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you later. See you soon, bud.
Enjoy it.
All right, man. Thanks. Bye. Yep.
Bye.